Last item we have on for action, that's the worst is I do have Anna Gibson that signed up to speak on non-agenda items.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about the open planning commission seat, and I'm going to do this because Greg Presnell is not here, but I want you to consider Greg Presnell. I don't know if he would do it, but he has a civil engineering background, so I wouldn't know why we wouldn't use him potentially. He comes to every meeting everywhere, and anyway, like I do. So I would highly recommend considering adding him to the planning commission seat that you have open. The next thing about the planning commission, so it is next week, and I want to suggest you have your lawyer in there because you have the developer's lawyer in there, Patrick O'Hare's lawyer in there. I really think our attorney needs to represent us when the lawyer is talking, and he can talk in legal terms, right? So I think that that's important. The other thing I wanted to bring up is the ethical policy, because I know that you're making a lot of changes right now. The first thing I want to say is before you make changes, I think it would be valuable to bring your MTAS consultant in here and go through code by code, why it was written that way, understand a background, understand ethics in city government, because I've seen it, right? Is we just don't have an understanding of ethics. And you have an MTAS consultants, it was their ethical code. Just have them give you training. Like you've said before, we're volunteers. I think you should maybe make it mandatory for all employees to go through ethical training. So that way they know we're allowed to do this, we're not allowed to do that. A couple things on your ethical policy that I think you really need to add that are gaps. You don't really define what retaliation is, right? That's kind of I didn't see that. I think that's like a clear gap. What is retaliation? I didn't see, you brought it up before, like what's severity? I think there is a concern about you call someone unethical. The reality is every single person is unethical. So we all have areas of our life that we are unethical. So I just want you to understand that. And I can give you examples, right? Like I know a mother who walks into Publix and Publix gives free cookies to their kids. She picks up a free cookie for herself, right? So you could argue that's an unethical act. And so I don't think that calling someone unethical is really as bad as you guys think it is. I've seen the state get involved for ethical complaints. And they say, yep, an entire city has violated their ethical policy, and then they have done nothing about it. So you can also look at that to just say, hey, yes, you did something wrong. You violated an ethical policy, but we don't need to take action. But I think you need to look at, hey, if they keep violating it, what does that mean? Some states require if you violate an ethical policy, then you have to go through training. I think you should do that now. You should just force everyone to go through training, right? And then I think you need to look into adding things like manipulation and false statements, because I've seen that before in the past, right? Where someone says one thing in this board and then they go to another board and they do something else and make another statement there. And so that's been very concerning for me to watch. Again, I want to say like what I have tried to do is not to have a personal agenda against anyone. In fact, I feel like I personally like people, but if you're not doing things right as a government employee or an official, I think we need to fix that. So I just wanted to recommend training. I think there's gaps here. I also wanted to state that, actually, I know I mentioned, hey, I had concerns that someone did premeditatively add a ethical complaint against one of you. But I really strongly do not think we should add something that says that could potentially, like, for example, you have a provision 4 on here. If the employee of a town submits a written complaint against a member of the governing body, the governing body determines it as no merit, then you should vote on the employee's actions to investigate it and the motivations. Yes, that happened, but I think you need an ethical code that helps take care of that. Like, in my opinion, that was intentional trying to silence. That was voting manipulation. That, there were other things at play there that employee did, and you could have a code against that. But you wouldn't want to deter someone who has a genuine ethics complaint, whether they're an employee or not. Like, Haley should feel comfortable to not be retaliated against in any capacity if she has any ethical complaints against you. And I know that's not your intention, but if someone's reading this ethical code, and they're an employee, they could say, oh, wait, crap, you can just come after me then, and I'm going to get ethical violation against me because of that. Or, so I'm going to be investigated because of that, because they voted no merit. So I just kind of wanted to say that. I think you really need training before you update the ethics code.
Thank you. Okay.